There is no denying that Mass Effect was one of a kind. It is a childhood favorite for many people, and there has never been another game of its kind. Space opera fans have truly been starving ever since the trilogy ended.
Alive, still breathing, sharing a pitiful crust between them. Share and share alike, sharing and staring, staring and sharing.
Just tell it, don't ham it.
But are their spirits broken? Have they lost hope? Yes.
But the time has finally come. Not one, but two space-focused science fiction RPGs are coming out. One of them is Exodus by Archetype Entertainment, and the other one is The Expanse by Owlcat Games. Can they both be the next Mass Effect? Or can neither of them achieve such levels of success and fan reception? I know that comparing games in general is never a good thing, especially if said game is a game from your childhood, and thus a game you are emotionally attached to, as it's part of what made your childhood memorable. So while I do not expect any game to make me feel like Mass Effect once did, I still hope for more games in this genre, in this style, in this setting in general. Being able to escape into science fiction worlds where everything takes place in space is the epitome of escapism in my opinion, because the possibilities in such worlds are literally endless. So even though I know it's unrealistic of me to expect another game to make me feel exactly like Mass Effect once did, I'll always be excited for more space opera-like games in general. So let's talk about these new Mass Effect-like games. Archetype Entertainment is a new studio based in Austin, Texas. This will be their first major IP, and in my opinion, depending on how good this game is, it can either make or break them. The talent behind Exodus are ex-BioWare household names responsible for Mass Effect, so they know what made Mass Effect great because they helped make it. However, it is worth mentioning that Archetype Entertainment is not an independent studio. It is a division of Wizards of the Coast, and thus part of Hasbro, which doesn't bode particularly well for them, considering the company has openly and notoriously embraced DEI programs and initiatives for that sweet ESG money, ruining multiple beloved franchises in its wake because of it.
Cherry? Another cherry? Oh, what was I worried about? Oh God!
So many are concerned about the studio's overlords. Not all hope is lost, however, as according to the head of the studio, James Olin, who up until Exodus refused to leave his tabletop publishing company and go back into making video games, said that he was allegedly only on board with getting back on that particular horse after he was promised creative freedom in what games he would be allowed to make and how he could go about making them. Not only that, but Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro in general seem to have come to their senses and have stopped funding ideological nonsense and are reportedly trying to make games fun again and hopefully stop playing activists for the radical left ideologues. So it's not like Exodus is completely out of this race, and I for one am still hopeful for this game. Cautiously so, but hopeful nonetheless. The Expanse, on the other hand, is made by Owlcat Games, a Russian studio with its headquarters now in Cyprus. The studio is known for its MMOs and isometric RPGs. The Expanse, however, is their first third-person tactical combat RPG, so more like the RPGs that we are commonly used to and that aren't as niche as isometric ones. Many are concerned because this is their first attempt at such a game, and while I personally haven't played one of their games before, I know of many people whose judgment I really trust that swear by this studio's skills and all its previous games. Spell and Shield, for example, is one of said people. In fact, he's one of the reasons that I do want to give their isometric RPGs a try, even though they're not normally my type of game. Though I can't say I've tried playing one before, so who knows, maybe I'll actually like it. Another concern is that this universe is too human-focused and has no alien races to play as or even interact with in the game. But to me, that isn't much of a flaw, as I still think there can be many things that can be equally intriguing in this setting, even if there aren't other races. If we were to judge from history, there's always way too much potential for conflict, even when just humans are involved anyway. So in my opinion, things will definitely not be boring, even if we just focus on our journey through the stars and the politics behind it all. The universe that the Expanse Osiris Reborn is set in is of course none other than that of the Expanse novels and the consequent series that followed, wherein Earth and people of Mars share in a fragile military alliance that is plagued by constant push and pulls and tensions between the two powers. Meanwhile, someone has to provide for both these worlds, and that someone is none other than the Belters, people who live in stations on the asteroid belts of the moons of Saturn and also Jupiter. They do the hard physical labor of mining for resources, while Earth and Mars control their access to necessary resources in return. It is thus not a surprise that while Earth and Mars don't like each other, Belters don't like either of them, and as a result, tensions rise and there are many who call for Belter independence. Neither Earth nor Mars like the idea of the Belt becoming independent, however, and thus they label the movement as a terrorist organization. Later on, however, humanity gains access to even more new worlds through an artificially sustained wormhole where they also discover an alien space station which expands the universe and its lore even more, which again only reassures me there's plenty of excitement and fun to be had in this universe despite the lack of alien life forms in it. This trailer also made me want to explore this universe even more, which is why I got the audiobooks. If I'm being honest, the series failed to capture my interest for this universe in any way, shape or form, but this trailer certainly did the trick. So both games have much potential. I don't know about overthrowing or possibly replacing Mass Effect, but they do have the potential of becoming household names in this genre as well. I think both can make it if they play their cards right, but if I had to put money on either one of these studios and their respective games, my money would definitely be on The Expanse, as, and let's not kid ourselves here, the mere fact that The Expanse is made by a non-US or Canadian studio is a plus. We have all seen the games that have been coming out by studios from those countries. They're usually plagued by radical left drivel, full of their biology and logic-defying nonsense, making it impossible for anyone to enjoy the universe or even escape and lose themselves into their games, as nobody appreciates being talked down to or preached at.
So, I'm non-binary.
We do not care.
So while I'm hopeful for both, if I had to pick which one I trusted more, then that would definitely be The Expanse.
This is exactly what I've been waiting for. This is exactly, I don't mean to sound like Cat Williams, but this is exactly what I've been waiting for.
I'm cautiously optimistic about Exodus, but there are certain red flags that prevent me from trusting in it 100%. We've just been burned way too many times, so I'm eagerly waiting for those studios to prove us all wrong again and go back to making games instead of political statements that nobody asked for and which no logical person believes or agrees with anyway. But until that day comes, my money is on studios that run on passion for games and for telling a good story, rather than big US or Canadian studios that are trying to make a political statement to appease a small minority of the population and to get that sweet, sweet ESG money.